on a Prayer, Mr. John Bon Jovi and the band right there on Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Activation and filters. Why? Stuff happens. So today I got a really good illustration as to how this kind of little activation mechanism kind of works. And it was fascinating. And it was like after it happened, I was like, wow, that's actually very, very cool. And it really, in my mind, kind of showed me exactly how it works. Like, and I'll get into it. But, and the other side of it is whenever you get something activated, just to say it right off the bat and cover the bases real quickly, how do we get out of it? Simple answer is because when these things pop into your head, don't freak out, because if you freak out, you make it worse. You're putting more energy towards it. It's okay. They're going to happen. Contrast will occur. And when it does, that's okay. Let it go and think about what you would rather experience rather than freaking out about the fact that you just had contrast. Rather than freaking out about the fact that you just had something activated. That's okay. It's easy to deactivate something. You think of other things, and that becomes deactive. And the new thing becomes active. You always have that choice. But one of the most important things about law of attraction, about any of the spiritual stuff, is learning to control your thoughts. So, what's this crazy example? Drivers is something that I'm fond of, aware of, pay attention to, people that seem to fall into all different categories of skill when it comes to driving. I'm trying to keep from saying it just outright. Bad drivers, right? I did a whole spiel about it in my stand-up. Like, it wasn't the best part of my bit, and the one I think I shared with everybody, I think I cut that part out. But it was an aspect of it, people that are poor drivers. And what I find is when you are focused on something, oddly, you will see more of it, as we've talked about. So, noticing strange drivers on my way down to the grocery store this morning. I was actually going early. I made something awesome in the crock pot today. So, hit the store early and wanted to get stuff cruising along. Noticed a couple interesting drivers and was thinking about it a little, maybe even on the way. Get to the store and I finally, get all my stuff and I get in the checkout line and the lady in front of me talks about how it's amazing how this certain group of people are horrible drivers. Well, the certain group of people happened to be the group that this person was a part of. She was definitely a part of that group. It was definitely a group I was not a part of. Now, I will say for sure, there was no place in my discussion today that even brought up the aspect that she brought to it, right? This group of people that she had chosen to pick on for being poor drivers. And I was just like, bad drivers. And then my response was, well, bad drivers come in all varieties, right? I mean, I wasn't about to agree to that. Like, where do you go? I'm not even a part of that group. It is not okay for me to say that group is a bad driver. We're all bad drivers. I've seen bad drivers all over the place. So the thing that's kind of funny is, I had this whole discussion, and I'm like, all right, kind of dumbfounded by it, and the cashier and I have a little moment where it's just like, it's funny because what do you say, right? And, long story short, move on out. It's cool. The lady just stood there the whole time, too. It's very strange. Never ever left. Like, I finished my entire transaction. She was still standing right there. I don't know. So on the way home, see this car that decides, I guess they're going to get over into the middle of the road. There's a place where you could turn, but they're far, far from it. Far, far from it. So they pull over to the middle of the road and start slowing down and stopping way before they should. And the car that was behind them, that then now was to the right of them, suddenly starts to slow down and stop right next to them so he can look at them and notice how crazy this person is or whatever was going through their mind. But they both were being weird, right? The one guy's stopping and be like, yeah, you're being weird. It's like, you just stopped in the middle of the road, dude. You are way just as weird. Like, in fact, probably weirder, right? That lady looks old. Who knows what's going on there? You are a reasonably middle-aged individual. There's no reason for this. This just makes no sense. So within this small span of time, this little bitty thing got activated in me. I didn't try to stop it. In fact, I'm still looking at it as kind of comical. I mean, I laugh at sometimes these things that I manifest in my life. I'm like, yeah, totally know why I did. And, some of it's not good, but it's not bad. Like, that was no big thing to me. It was just kind of funny. It was just a good illustration to me of how when you start thinking of something, when you get something inside of your mind, you activate it. This isn't me pushed out. I wasn't the lady. That's not me. That wasn't me. That's not anything I think. That's not anything I do. She was just the perfect person to play what was activated in me. And she was perfectly positioned in the same checkout line that I was going through. And I timed my drive home perfectly to get to find two of the nuttiest nut jobs that were driving on that road within that given period of time. Whatever's activated in you is what you notice. All of this stuff is happening all around you right now. Us pushed out, all right, whatever. If it wants to be called that, fine. Again, it's one of those weird things to me that I hear thrown out a lot. Like, it's just us pushed out. All right, I don't really necessarily agree, but I think us pushed out is more when we're like pointing our finger at somebody and saying, well, you are being like this, or we're noticing something about someone, we're making a judgment about them. A lot of the times it's us sort of projecting ourselves onto them. But in the case of like this lady who disliked a certain group of people as drivers, a group that she was a part of, so ripping on herself, I guess. When she was feeling that way, that wasn't me. That wasn't anything that was playing out to me. Now, maybe someone that I was there with, maybe the cashier, maybe she's got some sort of weird thing there, so maybe that played out for her. I don't know. But in my case, it didn't. But it fit my little activated thing perfectly, as well as the people on the road. My point is why we do all this imaginal work, why we do all the different techniques we do, is to get a vibration activated within ourselves. To get what we're trying to accomplish activated. And once we do get it activated, we tend to start seeing signs and start to see other things like that. We start to see things moving in that direction. Now, a lot of people do kind of go off and derail themselves by focusing too much on signs, and now you're focusing on signs and you're not actually focusing on what you're trying to manifest. So you're missing the point. The signs come from trying to manifest. When you try to manifest signs, now you're just manifesting signs. That they cease being what they originally were. Now they're just, I'm manifesting things to happen to prove to me other things. Keep focused on where you're trying to go. But my other point is, sometimes when we get negative, when we notice we don't have it right now, when we start going down little thought paths of negativity, we're not good enough, self-love's an issue at that point maybe. Maybe we're not good enough at work, maybe we're not funny enough, maybe we're whatever. When we start going down those paths, we are consciously choosing to allow something to activate. And once it starts to activate, now we'll start to notice it. Now it's turned on. It's like the filters. I don't know. I'm probably going to mess up the movie name. There's filtered. Benjamin Franklin made these glasses. They made two of these movies, and they can read something when they move them up and down, but they're like different lenses, right? Totally forgetting the movie. Nicolas Cage was in it. It was a good movie. Anyway, can't remember. So that being said, the filters, right? So once we turn on that filter of I'm not good enough, and now everywhere you look, you start to see that you're not good enough. And it was all there to begin with. It was all there already. All these little options to not be good enough were there, and all these options to be good enough were there as well. That's what they mean by abundant. It's all out there. What we have activated in us is what we see. That's really what they're talking about with law of attraction. It's what your it's the lens that you've put on so you can now see the abundance of that which you are now noticing or seeking or thinking about. So, again, if you're thinking of something negative, you're abundantly going to get lots of that negativity or lots of that lack of something that you keep noticing. Again, to make this go away, think about what you would like to experience. That's why we always keep saying affirmations, self-love, the things that are causing you to derail. The reasons that happens is really what you need to kind of attend to, right? Don't just keep putting a Band-Aid on the fact that you're ending up over here. Look at why you keep ending up over there. Is it a lack of belief in yourself? Is it a this or that? But that's where the issue tends to derail you over and over. So we get ourselves back in line by activating good things again. And thinking about what you're trying to manifest. Thinking about trying to be with your specific person, whatever your thing is. And you start to see those same signs again. Right. So you keep that going. And once you get that manifestation wheel cruising, humming, right? Little resistance. You're just moving along. Everything's good. It's happening. You've probably even let go at this point. You know what's happening. Everything's moving along. When you have a little moment where something funky gets activated and your wheel's turning like that, it can and will happen very quickly. You will suddenly start to see it everywhere you're looking. It happens quickly. And when you're barely derailed, or like in my case today where it was someone talking about bad drivers, not the worst thing in the world. Certainly should be focusing on the good drivers because there's a lot of them out there. In fact, more good drivers out there. And then you tend to find that most of the people around you are driving in ways that you would consider good. What's activated in you? Why do you keep seeing what you keep seeing around you? It's because of what's active inside of you. Doesn't matter what you say or think. Really, as far as, it's happening because of this, it's happening because of that, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. One, you just keep talking about it. But two, it's happening to you. So no matter what, it's active in you somehow. If it continues to be active, it's something that we need to try to change our focus onto something else, something we'd rather it be, the opposite maybe. Even if there's someone in our life that keeps saying it, talking about it, you will find that when you keep diverting, even when you're with them, onto the opposite, onto being positive, just be like, everyone sucks. That's what your friend keeps saying, right? And you keep noticing sucky people, and they're like, and you finally say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm done with this everyone sucky thing. My friend is bugging me. I don't want to stop being a friend with them. So they're like, everybody sucks. And you're like, no, actually, there's a lot of really good people. Matt over in accounting? Well, yeah, he's a pretty good person, right? Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Right? And look about Jeff. Jeff's actually a really nice guy. He's got 2 kids. I don't know if you've met him, but they're adorable. Now, all of a sudden, this guy's like, you're right. And you're activating something, one, good in him, but two, you're activating something good in you, and you're not allowing him to ruin your activation. Because again, it's still your consciousness, your life. You pulled your friend into your world to talk about these negative things. It's not your friend's fault. It's not you pushed out. You've activated that in you. So you need somebody to fill that role. You need somebody to come in and talk about these things so you can have that experience. Maybe it's contrast. Maybe it's meant to steer you into another direction. That's what contrast is, right? Something that's negative, so you start to look at the positive. Maybe it's an example of something that's good, so you get to taste that, and you're like, all right, now I want more of that. But whatever the case is, we're bringing these experiences to ourselves. What we choose to do with them, whether we choose to leave this active in us or not, it's up to you. That's the joy and the power of all this law of attraction stuff we keep talking about. It's up to you. What would you like to experience more of? That's what we spend time thinking about. Spend more time thinking about that. You'll get more time with the things you love. That is how it works. Going out with a great song by Creed called Higher. It's right here on Dan Radio Style.